what they're doing to say is though. Yes, though.
Hey, I'm Josh.
I'm Rachel.
And this is our story at the well. We've been married for 6 years. We have 2 kiddos. And most of y'all don't know us, but if you do know us, it's probably because we were actually church planting residents at the well from 2018 to 2020. And so for all of y'all that do know us, what's up? All right, good to see you. Yeah, so we were sent out from the well in late 2019 to start doing like core team meetings and all the early church plant stuff. And then, all right, I was telling Adam, he's out of frame, by the way, that right before we had like our first event, we hadn't even had a church service yet, but like right before we had our first event, that's when like the whole deal shut down. And so we kind of been on a delay since then that we have only recently kind of come out of.
Being a part of Refuge has been really cool. It's been really cool to see a new community being formed that has its own desire to reach a new part of the city. And it's just been really fun to be a part of that and to see new people come and bring family and friends, and just because they know that they're going to hear the gospel week in and week out, and it's a really cool experience.
And right before we were starting to have events that would lead us into launching, that's when all the lockdown stuff happened. And so consequently, it kind of just turned into like an 18-month delay. And so we were doing like online stuff similar to a lot of other churches, but that was really in efforts to feed and sustain the group that we had. Obviously that, you know, it's hard to invite new people into that context, especially when like you hop on every morning and you have 18 million churches in front of you on Facebook being like, visit us digitally today. And so it was more so just in efforts to feed and to care for our own people. And it wasn't until recently, like we were doing some outside stuff just to try to start meeting and try to start getting back into that practice. And it wasn't until 5 weeks ago now, I think it was the beginning of August, that we started in our own location at 10:30 a.m. And it felt like, man, we're finally starting to get the ball moving in terms of gathering as a church and being public in that and inviting people in and actually starting to work toward having some of those same events that get the word out and that engage with people and let people know, hey, there's a church here to receive the good news of Jesus, to receive good news. And so that really has only started in the past 5 to 6 weeks.
Refuge is really diverse in terms of ethnicity and backgrounds, as well as age. It is primarily young families and younger people, but there is, diversity in that. And we're primarily hoping to reach this zip code specifically, 78744, as well as just all of Southeast Austin. And so it's been really, fun to just be able to, as of late, like put up door hangers and reach out to people and knock on people's doors to pray for them and invite them out. So it's been really encouraging.
I'll say that I wanted to plant a church for maybe 2 reasons, or maybe that the answer is twofold, right? Obviously, we want to see the kingdom advance. And this part of the city historically has been under-churched. We knew we wanted to plant. I knew I wanted to do ministry, but planting a church in this specific area was, I think, a lot of the motivation behind planting in the time and when and where we did and all that good stuff. And largely it was because, again, this community has a distinct need. There were only 4.5, stacked up probably even less than that now because some churches have closed. But at the time we were thinking about planting, there was only 4.5 churches per 10,000 residents here. And so each church would have to be like 2,000 plus people to reach everybody. Most of the churches here are like 10 people, right? Like that's kind of the thing that's around. And even the church plants that were here locally, when we were thinking about planting, they actually have all closed because of COVID. And so we're the last church plant in the area and the only church plant in the area now. And so that was a motivating factor. But I think in addition to that, the context of here being an underserved community, really lacking in contextualized gospel messages, right? Helping us understand that we were all born and created in God's image, but we were also given the characteristics we have for very distinct reasons. And so if I can build a bridge to communities, if Rachel can build a bridge to communities, if you or Adam or whoever else can do that, right, in the specific ways that God has created us to, then why sit on our hands, right? We can actively go out and pursue these communities that may be able to relate to one of us more than they relate to another person, and build these bridges for the gospel to really walk across. And that was something I felt a sense of urgency. And then after sharing it with Rachel, I think she shared in that to an extent as well. And so that was really a lot of the motivating factor, even not above and beyond, but I think in complement to the desire to see like the kingdom advance. Yeah, if you're interested in going on a church plant, right? Like if that's an interest that you have, and you have questions about it, I would really encourage you to seek clarity and to be upfront. I remember at the beginning, especially even now, we're kind of still at the beginning, going like in a reset period. But there at the beginning, there's so many things to do. Your laundry list becomes what seems infinite, and oftentimes what you're processing through is building teams of people that you want to know, hey, I'm not overburdening you, because this can be easily overburdensome. But I also know that we need to come together to accomplish these things. So oftentimes just being clear and being upfront and being able to say, hey, this is what I have the time to do, and I want to do something. What can I do? And in that moment, it gives the fuel, the ability for people, the leaders of the church plant, to empower you and say, hey, here's how I think we can come together to serve this purpose. But then in addition, here's how maybe your specific gifts can be empowered in this circumstance and in the needs we have present to be used.
Just the process of even getting to this point has been long and sometimes challenging. And it's been really, really encouraging though, just to know that there's people that have stuck with us, even from core team or before, that are still a part of our community and excited about what's going on in this area.
If you're considering church planting, I would say that the expectations are in and of themselves the blessings, in that the expectation should be to grow increasingly dependent on the Lord. An 18-month delay for us was extraordinarily difficult, and things didn't go the way we planned them going. Yet in the midst of that, we saw like the church grow. We saw people come to faith. People, like, they're coming to faith for the first time, not like they're rededicating themselves to the Lord, but they're like coming to faith and they're reading the Bible for the first time. And in the midst of that, it's like, man, all this stuff happened. It didn't go according to how I saw it, but you in the midst of it were still working, because this is your story of redemption that you're writing. Being a part of a church plant, but especially leading one, is really the ultimate idea of saying, here I am, Lord, use me to continue writing your story. Let me be a pen that you use to continue writing your story of redemption. And understanding that dependence is one of the biggest gifts that I've ever received in my life. And it's a gift that I think will carry us through the rest of our lives, not just church planting season, but for years to come.